Hi, this is Judy Appel. I am the Executive Director of Our Family Coalition, California's premier LGBTQ organization. Welcome to June's episode of Alphabet Soup, nourishing our LGBTQ families one conversation at a time. And this is Pride Month, June, so we're going to focus today's episode on family pride. And I'm really excited to have our first guest with us tonight. So I'd like to welcome Anayvette Martinez and her daughter Lupita. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're really excited to have you here today. We're going to talk a little bit about an organization that you have worked together to set up. So why don't we start by with you, Anayvette, if you could tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah. Well, I have two small children. Lupita is my oldest, and she is a fifth grader, and she is 10. And I have a son, Diego Luna, who is a second grader, and he is 8 years old.
Great. Now, you identify as a queer woman of color.
That is correct.
So tell us a little bit about how it is to be an advocate as a queer woman of color here.
I think it informs everything. It informs everything I do. It informs how I work, how I live, how I love. So it's a critical part of my identity for sure, to be a queer woman of color and a queer mother of color. It informs how I parent and how I raise my children.
Great. And Lupita, welcome.
Thank you.
So Lupita, what grade are you in?
I'm in 5th grade.
And you're graduating?
Yes.
That's great. And so you're going to go into middle school?
Yes.
So together you formed the Radical Monarchs, formerly known as the Radical Brownies, right?
Yes.
So one of the things, we're a family organization and we work with families, with kids all over the place. And so we are really, I'm really inspired by your work. And so I was wondering if you, Lupita, if you could start by telling us a little bit about the Radical Monarchs.
Yeah. So the Radical Monarchs, it's a troop for young girls of color where we learn about social justice, and we communicate, and we just talk about what's happening around in our community.
And so how often do you meet?
We meet once a month.
Oh, wow, that sounds really cool. Well, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to decide to work with Lupita and her and other young women to start the Radical Monarchs?
Yeah. So it happened last year in 4th grade. Lupita was in 4th grade, and a lot of her friends started to join a local Girl Scout troop. And she naturally was like, Mom, I really want to join this Girl Scout troop. And I thought about it, and, there's nothing against that organization or that group, but I kind of felt like, I was watching her kind of come to age as a 10-year-old, kind of grapple with her issues of identity as a young girl of color. And she's been raised within such a social justice and active household. I thought about what would it look like to have a troop, but have it be really focused and center young girls of color experiences, and then also be a lot more radical, not about community service, but really about activism and radicalism. And so kind of dreamt up what that would look like, and then asked her, I said, Lupita, what do you think about this crazy idea? And she loved it, and she was like, Mommy, I love it. Can we do it? Can we do it? And she basically never stopped bugging me about it until I finally did it. She didn't let me forget that I had that idea.
I like that positive spin.
Yes.
You totally pivoted there. Like it turned it from like nagging to, inspiration.
Yes.
So tell me, Lupita, what do you do at your meetings? Tell me a little bit about what you do at your meetings and some of the key events.
So we meet up and we do journaling where we write about the past units that we've been doing. We write about how we're feeling about it and what we've learned. And then when we're doing a new unit, we first we talk about what we're gonna do, and then sometimes we do activities. For example, we're doing there was the one of our last sessions. It was called Radical Beauty, and we made our own sugar scrubs. And we made lip balm. And so that's one of the activities we did at our meetings.
And I can see that you have some patches.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about the patches, how you get them, and how I know that you've got a few of them on. So how did you?
Yeah.
How did you? You should tell us about that.
This one I have right here is the Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter patch, and we earned it by going to a lot of marches, and we were the Black Lives Matter group. They came, they talked about they talked to us, and we talked to them, and it was really fun because we got to go just with them to marches, and it was really fun. So that's the Black Lives Matter one. And
that's
then
cool.
This one right here, Radical Beauty, is the one I was talking about, where we made, we learned that we're already beautiful, and that if you use those really expensive beauty products, that is just, it doesn't make any sense because you're already beautiful the way you are. And we made sugar scrubs, lip balm. It was really like, we made it our own, and it was really great that we made it like ourselves. It wasn't from those expensive beauty products.
That's cool. And now I think when we were talking before the show, you told me that you also just earned another badge, which
Yes.
you haven't had the ceremony for yet.
It's
So what
the,
is that?
The Bachamama badge. We went with Outdoor Afro. We did a hike with them at Joaquin Miller Park, and we learned about a lot about our Earth, and that the Earth has to have the same rights as us, and we have to keep it clean. We learned about pollution and how people just like they throw trash in nature when they're not supposed to, because it's like the Earth, like we're in a drought. We have to save the water. We have to see like what's happening on Earth.
Oh, that's really, that sounds like each badge you really get to earn it.
Yeah.
On really great issues. So we're going to watch a little clip right now of you and some of your other Radical Monarchs doing some, I think at one of your events, right?
Rally! We stand for justice! We are here for to make things right!
Okay, so what are you doing in this clip?
In this clip, we're standing in front of a mural in Fruitvale, and we're doing chants, and we're saying like who we are and what we're here to do and why we're standing here. And we do like these little step things where we go like step, step, and like we all introduce ourselves, and it's just like so people when they're walking by they know who we are and why we're there.
Oh, that's great. So who comes up with the choreography and the chants?
Well, my auntie from my chosen family, Marilyn, Thea Marilyn, she makes up like we organize the chant, and then she makes up like the steps.
Oh, that's great. So you kind of do it collaboratively?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Anayvette, so what is your goal for, I know Lupita nagged you into starting Radical Monarchs, and now I know you're really happy that you're doing it, and you have a great presence. I know you're really trying to get the word out. So what is your goal for your, for the young people, particularly now they're going into middle school, and what's your hope and kind of...
I mean, I guess my hope is that they own their power, that they learn to step into their brilliance and their beauty. They're all just such amazing, strong young girls. And my greatest hope and desire is for them to be able to own that and really own their worth. And I think, we just launched in December. We're fairly new. And we never expected it to, explode the way it did. It started off very organically, very much as something, I'm going to do this for my daughter, and this is a need that I see for her, and talk to some community folks and get some kids together. We had no idea it was going to, explode to the magnitude that it did. But now that it has, I think it definitely speaks to a need, right? And I think a lot of people have been like, where was this when I was growing up? I wish I was a part of this radical troupe. And so I think we're definitely filling that void. And so this year we've been trying to go really slow to go fast later. So we're kind of incubating this model. We recently got fiscal sponsorship, and so we're going to launch a fundraising campaign and begin applying to grants and funding and be able to become a 501c3. So that is in the works.
And so in the meantime, if there are other parents, other parents or other groups, other schools who want to try to replicate this, they want to start a Radical Monarch troop. Do you call them troops, or do you call it a group? Troop? Yeah. Do you? So how would they go about doing that? What would they do?
So I think we're not ready to help support other chapters starting just yet, but we are moving towards that direction. But I've told many people that feel inspired by this, I've told them, this movement is bigger than us. And so to go ahead and start a troop, and I think listen to the needs of your community, respond to the youth. We ask for their input and opinions all the time as we create the curriculum and the units that they are learning about. So I think it's definitely important work.
That's so great, and I'm sure there's actually, you guys have a Facebook page, so I know people can get a lot of inspiration and information from the Radical Monarch Facebook page.
Yes.
So we're going to move a little bit to shift the conversation to talk a little bit about pride, and it sounds like your work is actually all about pride in a lot of ways, being proud of who you are. And so this is a big Pride Month.
Yes.
So I want to start by saying, share with us one of the things as a mom that you're most proud of your kids. maybe.
Oh, wow. That's
Lupita.
hard.
You just have to. I mean, I've spent the last half an hour with Lupita, and I could come up with 5 things. I'm sure it must be hard to pick.
I know. I feel like, she's just. She's a natural-born advocate. I mean, I think, granted, she was born into a social justice family, and she's been attending marches since she was, a baby. But I feel like when I hear her speak, it's just her heart. Her heart is so authentic and so pure, and I think she's just such an empathetic person. And I love to hear her speak when I'm not in the room, and then I hear about it later. And her teachers will be like, "Oh my God, like your daughter is such a strong advocate." And I think I'm just inspired by her heart and who she is.
And how about you? Now it's your turn. So what's one thing that you're really proud about your mom?
One thing I'm really proud of is when she got an award for the National Peacemaker Award, where when we were in San Francisco and we went to this like really fancy hotel place, and there was like a bunch of tarts. The tarts were like really yummy, and so she got this award of like the organizations and how she was like talking to young youth, and I was really proud of that because it was like a really big award and it was really fancy, and I was glad that she got it.
Oh, so do you guys have plans for Pride?
Yeah, so we're actually taking the Radical Monarchs to Trans March. So we are about to begin their Pride unit. So they're going to be earning a badge on Pride. And so their action, so the first part is always learning. Like, let's talk about what is the LGBT community. Let's talk about the gender spectrum. And then their action as the Pride unit is to attend Trans March. And so they are official Trans March volunteers, and they're going to be marching as well. So
that's
are our
great.
plans.
And, our family coalition is going to be at the Trans March. So hopefully you'll come and be with our families too.
Awesome.
And have a family contingent,
Yeah.
a family spot. So that's really great. So we're going to wrap up soon, but I wanted to see if you have anything that you want to add before we close the show, before we close this segment of the show.
Oh yeah, I have this poem that I wrote it in school and I wanted to share. Is it okay if I share it?
I love that. That sounds great.
Okay, so my poem is called I Have My Own Dream. I believe that one day all the power will come to us, the people. We will be who we are and not wear masks. We will not hide. Instead, we will be filled with pride.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you both so much for coming and just for all of this incredible inspiration and power that you're bringing to these young girls and that you're bringing to the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.
So we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Chris Armijo, who is the proud gay dad of 2 twins. He used to live here in the Bay Area, and then he moved to San Antonio, Texas. So we're going to talk to him about Pride, and then we will have our food for thought from our very own Polly Pagenhart.
Babe, I think we're ready.
We're really doing this.
Yeah, I'm ready for our family.
So where do we start?
Starting a family is a team effort, and when life needs a little encouragement, Pacific Fertility Center will be right by your side. As a unified team of the best fertility specialists, guided by the highest ethical standards, Pacific Fertility Center provides patients with compassionate fertility care. Visit pacificfertilitycenter.com. Pride is
40 years ago was all volunteers, and now it is one of the largest events.
It's an opportunity for all of us to just be who we are.
To take them to a place that's safer, where they feel accepted.
It's this remarkable coming together of politics and culture and just fun. And it shows what an amazing community we are.
San Francisco Pride is June 27th and 28th. For event tickets and information, visit sfpride.org.
Welcome back. I'm Judy Appel, the host of Alphabet Soup with our Family Coalition, and I'm really excited to be talking with Captain Chris Armijo, who's on the phone from San Antonio, Texas. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you, Judy. Thanks for having me.
Chris is an amazing advocate and dad. He's been in the Army for how many years?
Coming up on my 18th year.
Coming up on 18 years. And I first met Chris when he was in the process of figuring out how to come out to his companies. Who were you? You were coming out to your soldiers, right?
Correct.
several years ago. And since that time, you moved from here in the Bay Area to San Antonio, Texas. And
I did.
Yeah, and I'd love to start by hearing a little bit about how that move's been for you.
It was definitely a transition. Wow, there's so many words to use to describe it. I love San Antonio. I definitely enjoy being here. It's much different than the environment that I was in the Bay Area. So the transition going from being able to be an out parent with a support group to a more conservative area where I've had to think twice before being out. That part was definitely a transition, not having the support group here that we have back in the Bay Area with our family coalition, which I was on the board of, as you know, the Gay Dads group. So hard transition, but San Antonio is beautiful. The weather, people are unbelievably nice. So yeah, it's transition going from a comfort zone to outside that zone. But it was a good move. Good move.
Now, I should roll back a little bit. So you talked about being a dad and being a single parent. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Oh, well, I have 5-year-old twin daughters, Sophia and Ryan, which thank you, which were born January of 2010 there in San Francisco. I was able, with the resources actually I'd gotten through our family coalition, I was able to make some informed decisions and was able to figure out how to become a parent, specifically a single dad by choice. And I had 2 beautiful daughters via in vitro. My surrogate and the donor are both passively involved. So we have a very unique family dynamic.
Yeah, you have such a great family, and you just walk through with such grace and ease. And so I can only imagine the move from here to San Antonio, and knowing you didn't just sit down and kind of stay in the closet. I'm guessing that you're doing some organizing and creating a community there in San Antonio.
I did. So, or I'm attempting to, let's put it that way. So about 4 or 5 months before I arrived in San Antonio, I reached out to the LGBT center here. I looked online. I tried to network to see what groups were here that were civic and community-based that provided a gathering spot for LGBTQ individuals. And I was more interested at this point in my life meeting with other families. And there weren't any, at least none that I could find or connect with. I did find a gay dads group out of Austin, which is about an hour from San Antonio. But I wanted something closer, and so since there wasn't one, I got one going.
That's amazing.
So I started the San Antonio LGBTQ Family Play Group. We meet monthly. It's the 3rd Sunday of every month. And some months more robust than others. But again, at least the dialogue is there, and people are able to and have reached out to other families, just for chit-chat and support. So it's truly amazing to see the community starting to take hold and people to come out and say, hey, there's families like mine.
And how do your kids respond to being in a play group or in a community with a lot of other queer families?
They it's so funny, Judy. That's the norm for us, and so for them, it's just another day. It's just another day. I think for some of the families in our group, it has much more of a significant impact on them and their children, because my children have had the privilege of being around family structures such as ours. So for them, it's the norm. And I didn't realize that until I had a couple over, and she and her wife have a 5-year-old daughter. And Sophia looked at one of the ladies, and she's like, "Is that your wife?" And she was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Cool, she's very pretty." And then she goes off to play. And so the lady looked at me, and she's like, "Did you know to just ask if that's my wife?" I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, she has no issue. I'm like, "Why would she?" To her, that is normal. So yeah, it's pretty significant. They do like to meet or hang out with some of their friends who say, "I have two mommies," because my daughter's like, "Well, we also have two mommies." So they'll share mommy stories.
Are there any other dads? Do you have any other dads in the group?
I do not at this point.
We're gonna find some for you because you want to get to some other dads.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are in Austin. I have met some wonderful couples.
Yeah.
Who would like to have children, and
so you can start a baby boom in San Antonio.
A baby boom. I don't know about a baby boom. I know the baby boom. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy because in order to join the San Antonio family play group, you have to have children in whatever context. They have to be under 18, and they have to, reside with you during a play group. So I'm set the parameters that, it's not a networking type of event for individuals who want to find out more about parenting. I offer myself up to have those conversations, provide resources and linkages, but we try and keep the group very focused on families so that we have a safe place to take our children, and the children don't become an oddity or a commodity within that context. "Oh, well, how did you do this?" Because these aren't conversations we're having in front of our children, so we're very, very strict on that. So I'm definitely looking at some other avenues to get community dialogue going.
That's really, I'm sure that's such an amazing, it's something totally new in San Antonio, where I know there's probably quite a few families, and there just hasn't been that opportunity to build community. So I know you're a captain, and you've been in the Army. You said you're coming up on 18 years, and right now you're doing a program with the Army in health administration. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I applied to and was accepted to the Baylor. Well, referred to as the Army Baylor because the Army actually funds the program for me. So it's the Baylor Executive Master's Health Administration program. And I've just completed my year one. So our program is such that we do 2 years of academic classroom-based learning in 12 months, 8-week semesters, 8 to 5 full-time for the most part. Yeah.
And how do you manage to juggle all of that and being a single dad of twins? I can't even imagine.
I'm exhausted all the time. But, and it's funny because I just assume everybody juggles 2 kids. I don't know. I've recently moved from my school teacher binder to Google Calendar, which I love. So, yeah.
So before we have to close, Chris, I want to focus. We're talking a little bit about pride. I mean, we're not talking a little bit about pride. We're talking a lot about pride. This is going to be an incredible Pride year. We're expecting to hear from the Supreme Court, and it's going to hopefully be a huge celebration. And I want to hear if you can share with us a memory that you have of pride and how you feel pride. How pride impacts your family and how you celebrate pride with your kids.
Wow, that's a great question. For me and my children, more so for me, I'll take ownership of that. My family, we are very proud of us, of my children. So they're proud of me and what I accomplished in their eyes, and I'm proud of them for being who they are. And so the most notable pride thing that I can bring up is I had to meet with their preschool teacher early in the year. My daughter said, "I have 2 mommies," and the teacher was like, "No, people don't have 2 mommies." And my daughter said, "I do." And so...
and a dad.
Yeah. And so she came home crying, and I had to go speak with the school. And so the proud...
Wait, you came home crying or she came home crying?
She came home crying, wanting to know why the teacher did not believe she had two mommies. Because I didn't think to have a conversation with their teachers. So the moment of pride for me came when my daughter was able to explain to the teacher, even though she came home crying, yes, I have two mommies. She was able to articulate Mommy Jessica, Mommy Emily, I came from Mommy Jessica's body, but Mommy Emily carried me. So the pride of having my daughter at such a young age be able to articulate our family story and defend it, and it's kind of hard to explain how a 5-year-old would defend it, but instead of being shut down, she was like, no, I have two mommies. So for me, just knowing that my daughters are able to stand up versus being shut down at age, at 5 to fight for our family structure, it was just amazing. But the second part to that is 2 weeks ago, they had Family Week, and both my daughter's teachers, they're in separate classes, called and said, we're making Mother's Day our mother present for Mother's Day. So it was actually more than 2 weeks ago. They're like, we would like to know if it's permissible for the girls to make two mommies gifts, one for Jessica, one for Emily, and are you okay with them sharing about their mommies?
Oh, that's incredible.
I was ecstatic. I was like, wow. I mean, in
that's great.
Less than a year, how do you go from that conversation?
Such incredible change, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where my pride came in.
Yeah. So it sounds like your pride is really in your girls and in your family, and how well they articulate, how proud they are of who they are and how comfortable they are.
Right. Well, that and the fact that here in San Antonio, again, San Antonio is great. There's still, room for growth, but to have two teachers reach out to validate our family. So
had those breakthrough conversations, Chris.
I did. I was going to actually call it that, but yes. So, so that's my pride.
I think there's nothing that can instill that kind of instill pride in who we are and know we're doing a good job than when our kids really feel confident and they can, they feel pride in their own families. So I hear you. Yeah. So we are going to wrap up now. I want to thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time to chat with me and share your stories with us. And we miss you here in the Bay. I hope you come back soon. We'd love to have you and your girls. Okay.
I am working on it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for the work you do, and thank you, to you personally for being a great friend, and to our family coalition for the support and the guidance and the resources they've provided me and still provide me today.
Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, Judy. Okay. Bye.
Bye. We conclude our show every month with some words of wisdom from one of our Family Coalition's brilliant staff. Today we're going to hear from our Family Support Programs Director, Polly Pagenhart, who's going to give us some food for thought. And with that, we will conclude our show. I'm Judy Appel, our Family Coalition's Executive Director, here with Alphabet Soup from our Family Coalition.
Pride is
40 years ago was all volunteers, and now it is one of the largest events.
It's an opportunity for all of us to just be who we are.
To take them to a place that's safer, where they feel accepted.
It's this remarkable coming together of politics and culture and just fun. And it shows what an amazing community we are.
San Francisco Pride is June 27th and 28th. For event tickets and information, visit sfpride.org.
Babe, I think we're ready.
We're really doing this.
Yeah, I'm ready for our family.
So where do we start?
Starting a family is a team effort, and when life needs a little encouragement, Pacific Fertility Center will be right by your side. As a unified team of the best fertility specialists, guided by the highest ethical standards, Pacific Fertility Center provides patients with compassionate fertility care. Visit pacificfertilitycenter.com.
So I'm Polly Pagenhart, and this is Food for Thought. I'm going to be talking about pride today. My first pride, let's start with a story. My first pride was 30 years ago in 1985. I was barely out, I should say, selling ice cream for a Berkeley political party. I didn't even have a gay T-shirt to wear. Sylvester was singing over my left shoulder, and the highlight of the day was selling ice cream to a then closeted English professor who I realized was not so straight when I sold her the ice cream. I've been to a lot of Pride since then that were really fun. 20th anniversary of Pride in New York City, 25th. I've almost never missed a Pride, and even was at many of the first Dyke marches in New York City, Minneapolis, and San Francisco. But none of those equal the thrill I got the first Pride I was at with my daughter, which I held her on the top of my head like a little load of laundry, and every photograph of the both of us were beaming. So what does Pride mean to me and my family? It's about community for us. It's about responsibility, and it's actually about pride. A big part of the community is just that we see each other once a year. My kids are part of representing. They get to see other LGBTQ families, sometimes at school, and we have a parent group we've been meeting with for a long time. Even at our Family Coalition events, they see other families, but never in the numbers that they see on Market Street and at the Family Garden. And I think that's really important for them once a year. The responsibility is that I feel like we need to give back to the community that we get from. And I want my kids to be out there being counted and showing fellow community members and others that we exist. It's also about pride. We teach our kids manners and compassion, but also we want to show them how to be proud and what it's like to be proud. And that's what they experience being out in public at this event. Why should families come to Pride? Because it's heck of fun. It's super fun. Kids get to use their outside voice. They get to walk in the middle of the street all day long. Well, till they get up to Civic Center, in which case they're part of just this enormous festival of people. So it's just fun is one part of it. It's also important to get the support. You kind of get supercharged with support for the whole year. It lasts the year round. I think the experience of walking up Market Street, being cheered by so many people all the way up is basically an amazing experience. They can draw on that when things get tough, and I wouldn't have them miss that for the world. Our Family Coalition has a lot going on every single month, but especially a lot during June. We have a lot of things we'd want to draw your attention to. Something just about every weekend. We're going to be at San Mateo Pride on Saturday, June 13th, and also at the Silicon Valley Pride Picnic. We are going to be helping provide childcare at the Queer Women of Color Film Festival that same weekend, June 12th through 14th. The next Wednesday, we're going to be at the very first A's Pride Night with a whole group of families. And then that following Sunday, we're going to be at the Frameline Family Matinee, which will be Aquila and the Bee. And of course, after that, Transmark, Dyke March, and Pride itself. Go to ourfamily.org to find out more.